Hey guys, this is Inverted from the GameSpot forums and Fatal Error from GTAforums.com. This is my sort of semi-performance review on GTA 4 for the PC. Before I get into the game, I just want to quickly go in and show you my graphics settings and how I've got them set up. Obviously my resolution is set at 1680 by 1050, which is quite high. My texture quality is medium for two reasons. One being, obviously there's a performance hit over medium, but it's not enough to justify how it looks because the difference between medium and high isn't that much at all. The only real noticeable difference is Nico's jacket when you're running around is slightly better quality, but I mean, unless you're really looking, you can't notice so much a difference. I guess the main reason though is that on my system, high textures are quite buggy. I get a lot of texture pop in, a lot of objects that don't load in correctly. I get cars that float off the ground, I get shadows that don't load in correctly, so there's quite a few bugs with that. My sliders are all set to 50%, purely because over 50% you don't notice that much difference and you only get an impact in performance. So this is really sort of, I've been tweaking this game for about a week now, and this is just sort of the sweet spot I've hit. We're going to go back now and load the game up and sort of have a look at the starting area and a bit about the engine and why the game's so intense on some people's machines. So yeah, this is the very start of the game though. I haven't played much of the game at all. I've mostly been tweaking it, so this is the very start of the game. So we're going to load up the game here. Now this is Nico's apartment where we first start off the game, and this area here is the best area to judge the difference between medium and high textures because there's a lot of really nice quality textures in here, and you'll notice that when you do switch between medium and high, the difference is really just that the textures become slightly sharper, especially when you leave this area and you go out into the world. The difference you rarely notice. You really have to be looking hard to notice the difference between medium and high. Now let's go down here, and we're going to be greeted with our first scene, outdoor scene in the game. Funnily enough, this is one of the more intense scenes that you're likely to run into in the game. It's definitely a good area to tweak your game out because you sort of have all the variables that you would expect when you're driving around the game. You've got a lot of cars, a lot of NPCs, a lot of AIs, and things like that. But it's also bad in the sense that, new players are going to run into this area when they first load up the game, and if their machine's not that great, then they're going to be thinking, how in the hell am I going to be able to play the rest of this game if this first area doesn't load up correctly and I just get crap performance. But it's good to know that you can run out of the area like I am now and you get far better performance than when you're in this area here. It's mostly due to the fact that there's a lot going on. There's a lot of shadows being cast down from the train tracks above. You've got a lot of cars, you've got a lot of NPCs, and it's just a lot for one's computer to handle. Obviously mine handles it fairly well. The way that I've optimized my game is not for higher frames, but for less stuttering and less jerkiness. You're probably wondering, doesn't that come hand in hand? Well, not really, because your detail sliders and your vehicle distance sliders are going to be the ones that affect the stuttering in the game. And if you have less stuttering, then you have an overall smoother performance. If you have more frames, then obviously things will, seem that they're running fine until you start moving the camera around like I am now, and things start stuttering, and then it really just draws you out of the game, makes things less immersive, and it's just overall a lot less enjoyable than when you have no stuttering at all. I've seen people on the forums, complain about how their benchmarks can be upwards of 50 FPS, yet when they get in the game, they're running down in the 25 FPS mark. That's purely because of the fact that they have huge amounts of stuttering in the game, which aren't prevalent in the benchmark. So benchmark's really inaccurate. I definitely wouldn't use it. I guess the best benchmark is just loading up that first area where we were before and just judging how your game handles that area. Now, I'm just going to go down here and show you, there's a set of stairs here, and just show you some quick features about the Euphoria engine. Now, if you don't know what that engine is, it's basically what powers this entire game, and you can see something as small as Nico being able to take steps one at a time. It's just something small that this engine allows, NPCs and the player to do, and it just adds more to the game and just makes you feel like you're far more immersed in this game than just, say, a normal ragdoll physics engine, which, when you look at games like GTA and then you go back to playing games with just ragdoll physics, you can tell that the Euphoria engine really is the way that games are going these days, and it's going to be good to have more games that really incorporate it, like far more than GTA does. But that being said, it's the reason that GTA is so CPU intensive. The Euphoria engine is very advanced. It's new technology. It is, experimental, I guess, in a sense. And pretty much everything in this game is governed by it. So all the NPCs in the game run under Euphoria, not just simple ragdolls, like full effects. They run under the full effects of Euphoria. Same with all the driving in the game. Most of the objects in the game are run through the Euphoria engine, and what this does is just add sort of a sense of weight and gives things a more tactile feel. But it's the reason why this game is so CPU intensive. It's nowhere near as GPU intensive as it is CPU intensive, so you really need a good CPU. This is only part one of 3 parts that I'm going to be doing, and I'm going to be talking about, should you need a CPU that's, dual core or quad core, to run this game well. So stay tuned for part 2. So stay tuned for part 2 and 3.